Hello, 8th graders. Today we're going to talk about using the Mohs scale to determine the hardness of a mineral. Okay, the Mohs scale is, I have a picture of it right over here on the screen. It was developed by a guy with the last name of Mohs, which is how it was named. And he figured out that all minerals could be grouped into one of 10 categories according to their hardness. Okay, so on his scale, one, if any mineral rated a 1, it would be considered very, very soft. 2 would be a little bit harder, 3 a little harder yet, and so on, all the way up to, and I don't know if you can see that there, all the way up to the hardest mineral that we know of, which is a 10, and that is a diamond. Now, I don't have any diamonds in my classroom for us to test, so we will just have to use our imagination as far as this hardness goes. The Mohs hardness scale also has some minerals listed as examples of what their rating is, okay? That doesn't mean that if you get a mineral and you go through the Mohs hardness tests, which I'll show you in a bit, that if you think it rates a 4, that doesn't mean that it is identified as fluorite. Fluorite is just one mineral that rates at a 4, okay? So maybe you have a known sample of fluorite and you want to see if your unknown mineral is harder or softer than fluorite. Well then, yeah, you could scratch those two minerals together, and whichever mineral does the scratching would be the harder of the two, you know, and if your unknown mineral was harder than a fluorite sample, then yeah, you would know that it fell somewhere up here. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through how to do a hardness test on a mineral. You're just going to grab any mineral from your sample bucket. If you are doing distance learning, you could maybe look around your yard. You're probably not going to find any pure minerals, but you could still do kind of a scratch test on a rock and kind of get the idea of how to go through these steps. There's also a lot of YouTube videos about the Mohs hardness scale that will show you kind of how to go through the steps. So the very first thing we do, here's my sample right here. I am going to first see if I can scratch this mineral with my fingernail. Okay, that right here says that if I can scratch it with my fingernail, then the hardness of this mineral is going to be either a 2 or a 1. All right, I'll have to do a couple more things to really narrow it down to find its exact hardness, but at least I know I don't have to go on any further on the hardness scale. So I will scratch it, and sure enough, I can make a big scratch right in it with my fingernail. This is a very soft mineral. So at that point, I am done with the test. I only had to go through one test here, the very first one, which is to see if you can scratch it with your fingernail. I would then make note that this particular mineral is less than a 2 on the Mohs hardness scale. That means it's really soft. Put that one aside. I'm going to pick up another one. It's another sample of a mineral. I'm going to always start back at the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to first do a fingernail scratch test. See if I can scratch it with my fingernail. No, I cannot scratch it with my fingernail. In fact, this mineral scratched my fingernail. So I know it's harder than a 2. Then I go to the next step, a copper coin. Okay, I've got a penny right here. I'm going to see if I can scratch this mineral with this penny. So I'm just going to drag it right across the mineral. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to drag it right across the mineral. It does not appear that this penny is scratching this mineral. If I look at the penny, it's actually polishing the penny. That means this mineral is scratching the penny. right? That means this mineral is harder than a copper penny. Okay, so I can go to the next step. Okay, it's harder than a 3. I would then go to glass. Now it's very important not to use your windows to try to scratch. Okay, I don't think that your parents would be very happy with me if you did that. I have scratch plates in my room. I'm going to move my camera down so you can see my tabletop. It's really important that you always lay the glass flat on the table. You don't ever want to hold it in your hand like this and do a scratch test, because if you did that and the glass were to break, you could end up with glass in your hands. And so we just lay it down on the table like that, and we are going to take a corner of the mineral and we're going to scratch it against the glass. And then kind of brush away the powder and see if we think it actually scratches the glass. And I would say yes, it scratched the glass. That means it is harder than a 5. This mineral is harder than a 5, so I keep going. The next step would be to scratch it with steel. I have a steel nail here. I'm going to use this nail to scratch it. And sure enough, the nail actually scratches the mineral. Okay? So I would know then that I stop there. Once the mineral gets scratched itself, that's where you stop on the Mohs scale. And I would make a note that this mineral falls somewhere right around a 6 on the Mohs scale. Okay? You could grab another one. Again, start at the beginning. Scratch it with your fingernail. No, I can't really scratch it with my fingernail. I'm going to take a copper penny. See if I can scratch it with a copper penny. Yes, I can scratch it with a copper penny. All right, so then I stop. And I would record that this mineral is right around a 3 on the Mohs scale. Okay? Once you know a few, once you're confident that you know kind of what.
Landon Krasinski, please report to the office. Landon Krasinski, please report to the office. Landon Krasinski to the office.
Sorry about that. Once you know the hardness of a few of them, like let's say this, I said this was a 2 and maybe this is a 4. And I think that maybe this one would fall somewhere in between. I could use these minerals and scratch them together, and whichever mineral is doing the scratching is the one that's harder, right? The mineral that's being scratched is softer than that. And so what we're going to do as a class is, first off, we can go through some of these steps. We can see if we can scratch them with our fingernail, and we can see if we can scratch with a copper penny, and then you can group together the ones that are really, really soft, and then find the ones that are a lot harder, and then start scratching in those smaller groups, start scratching those together to see, kind of put those ones in order. Which one is the hardest of the hard ones? Which one is the softest of the soft ones? Okay? That is just a defining characteristic to figure out the identity of a mineral. Okay, and we're going to bring all of this together next week. We're going to be working with the Mohs hardness scale. We're going to be working with streak plates too, to find out what the streak of some of these minerals are. We're going to be looking at luster and all kinds of different things, and actually using mineral charts to see if you guys can come up with the actual identity and tell me what this mineral is. And what this mineral is, you might know what this one is. It's a yellow one. It's the only yellow one we got. I hope this helps. We will be working on this sheet here today. The first part of the sheet is just kind of a riddle. Some of you are really good at riddles. Some of us really struggle with them. I'm the latter of the two. But this is kind of showing you how we organize facts that we know in order to answer an unknown. Okay, so this first page is just kind of for fun. It's talking about 10 different kids and their heights, and you're putting them in order of heights. Same idea. It's kind of just to warm up your brain for the next page where you are going to kind of organize this Mohs scale and some minerals in order of hardness in your head. Okay, and then answer the questions below. And we'll have this due on Monday. Alrighty. I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon.